Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me. If this is your first time or if you're coming back, it's good to have you here. And I wanted to discuss logic of English, specifically foundations level A and B, because that's what we have used. We've just finished A and are currently in the middle of B with my daughter. And I wanted to kind of discuss the price tag attached. Is it worth it? And kind of some ways to make it work for you if you can't afford the full price tag. And let me say that I would encourage you, if you can afford it, to go ahead and buy everything from their site, buy it new, buy all the pieces, because I think it's great to support curriculum makers. And they're making us a service, they're making us a product, and our money is how they afford to do that. And so I would encourage you to buy it. But if, like me, you see that price tag and you go, I guess I'm going to go with something else, but I really want that, but I can't afford that, or that's just too much, then this video is for you, because I do have some tips and tricks to make it just a little bit more affordable. And I kind of want to discuss 4 main things, I guess. One is it worth it? Is this curriculum worth the price tag? What pieces do you really need and what can you get away without? What I've done to make it more affordable, and then a few things to be aware of when buying. So first, is it worth it? And I would say, yes, it is a great curriculum. We are loving it. My daughter loves it. She enjoys it. She's learning so much. We definitely intend to continue, and it is good quality. The materials are good quality. They've done a good job designing it. And I would say it is an excellent program, but it does cost something. So there are some things to consider when considering, is it worth it? One is, how many children do you have? I have 3 children. I'm working through this with my first, so I'm going to be using this with both of my other children, and that makes it much more affordable when I think about almost all of these pieces are reusable. And so cut the cost from 1 child to 3, divide that, and it makes it more affordable. Another thing to think about is this is a well-known, popular, loved curriculum, and it is easy to resell. And so when you think about buying the pieces, think about if these are in good condition when I'm done with them, if I can keep them, in good shape, I can resell these and recoup some of that cost. So that's another factor just to consider in an is it worth it question. Next, what pieces do you actually need and what can you get away without? And I would say you definitely need, obviously, the teacher's manual. This is a must. You can't do it without the teacher's manual. It is very well written. It's laid out very easy for the teacher to read, to follow, scripted. It's open and go. Excellent. Excellent. Well done. And it's nice. It's a hardback. It's durable. So, but you do need this. You also are going to need the student manual. And I have seen people asking, can I get away without using the student manual? Do I really need it? Can I just use the teacher's manual? And I would say you really need the student manual. A lot of the things that are referenced for the students to do are spoken of by page number or by title, but there's no picture in here to show you what you're supposed to do. The material is in here for the student to do. And my daughter really, really likes what's in here. She enjoys it. It's good. And it's not all that expensive. So I would say, yes, you do need the student manual. I wouldn't recommend trying to do it without. And then the last piece that I would recommend having, but you could do it without, so it's not an absolute must, would be the reader sets. In A, the readers are part of the student manual. They're in the back and you assemble them with your child. In B, they come separately. And there are 2 reader sets. I only purchased the main one, and I'll discuss that, why I did that. But I would say you do need at least one of them. And one big reason for that is it's good practice for your child to read books, and it gives them a sense of accomplishment. It's good. They're like, I read a book, I did it, and so it's good for them to have things that they can read outside of what's written in their student manual. And it's not recommended to give them books that have phonograms they haven't learned yet. So these are written just at the level your child is at. And so I think that's excellent. Now you could do the research and find other books to go along with it. And you could do that and you could get away without them. But the teacher's manual does have some promptings for them. They do have some questions to ask around them. And I think they're valuable for the price. So next, what are some tips, some tricks that I have done to make this much more affordable? Obviously, the first one, buy secondhand. Buy a used teacher's manual. Buy used student manual. Buy used readers. I wasn't able to find the readers used when I was buying, so I bought those new. But my teacher's manuals, I definitely bought used. And I got a great price. Now, I did get an older edition, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But but I got them much cheaper, and you can buy them on Facebook Marketplace. You can buy them on eBay, Abe Books, Thrift Books. Amazon has used books. You could look, there is a Facebook market, not a Facebook Marketplace, a Facebook group for this curriculum that is great resources, excellent. Some of the things I'm talking about, I got from them, and they have lots of people selling their used curriculum, lots of curriculum for sale all the time, lots of manipulative. So go on those places, look, find secondhand, and look before you need it. If you buy 3 weeks and you need it, you're going to have to buy the first thing you see. If you look 6 months in advance, you know, we're halfway through this, and I'm liking it, I know we're going to continue. Look in advance so you can find good deals, so you can wait for the good prices and find a good sale. Another thing I've done is I have made my own manipulatives. So there are flashcards. I went on Word and I made them. Now, you could totally do this by hand. You could just have a stack of index card and a pen, and when the teacher's manual prompts you to use this flashcard, and they do tell you what flashcards you need, write them up. But for me, I like having things in advance. So I went on, I made them all, I cut them all out. And I used in the front of each teacher's manual, there is a list of all the phonograms being used in this level, and a word that shows how you pronounce it, the pronunciation, all of that. And so I went on, I took the phonogram, and then I went in, and on the back, I put the pronunciation and the word that shows how it's pronounced. And I just went through and I did that, E. You know, and I did them up. And I would recommend putting the pronunciation in a word to reference how it's pronounced on the back, because it is helpful when you're teaching. You won't necessarily remember them all. It's really helpful to have them there for you, and as examples for your child too. So I made my own. I also made my own game cards, which are basically all of the phonograms in 2 different types. I did a book face and more of like a handwriting font, and a few other action cards that I just took a little clip art, I made them up, and you can do this. Look in your lessons in advance, see what you're going to need, make your own cards. So I did all those in advance. I cut them out. I have them ready for me. There are some tactile handwriting cards that they want you to use for your child, to use their fingers and to feel how the strokes are written. This one you obviously can't make while you're doing the lesson, because these will need some time to dry, but I wrote my own little thing. I wrote the stroke, and then on top I used some glitter glue. You could use puff paint, anything that raised and bumpy so they could feel it. And then I let them dry. And now I have them written myself. And on the back, I took the instructions that are in the teacher's manual, start in the middle line, down to the baseline. That's the instruction for this particular stroke. So that when I'm using these, I have the instructions written on the back. I don't have to go look in my teacher's manual. So I made these myself. And I don't use these a lot because we haven't been doing the handwriting component. But if I do with my younger children, absolutely easy to make. I also made my own little letter tiles, and again, they're not perfect. They're not thick cardboard like theirs would be. They're not, they're a little bit of different sizes, but I just printed them out on cardstock, cut them out, and these work totally great for my daughter to use as letter tiles. Sorry, that's a little clumsy, but, and between all of those pieces, oh, another piece I did was, instead of buying their whiteboard, you can print. They have this in the beginning of the Student A workbook. Copied it, laminated it so that we could have it, and then on the back has smaller lines. Or I've also used this, which I just got from the dollar store, and so much cheaper. So with all of those handmade manipulatives, I've saved at least $100 on just the first level. So I would encourage you to make your own if you can't afford to buy them. You totally have what you need within the manuals to do that. It takes a little work, it takes some time, but you're balancing time versus cost. Another thing I did is with the student manual, I purchased the PDF. You can get it hardbound or PDF, and it's a soft cover. Sorry, not a hardcover. But because I have 3 children and because I have a very cost-effective printer, I can get the PDF and print the same purchased PDF for all 3 children. And that makes it so much more cost-effective instead of buying 3 books for each, one for each. Another thing I did is I wanted to try the Doodling Dragons book with the first level, which is really just a book of the phonogram sounds and kind of how they're discussed with pictures and a little rhyme or whatever. And it was $15 or $16. I was considering it, but then I saw online that they had the coloring book for $6 or $7, half the price. So I thought, well, it has the exact same pictures in it, it has the same words, and they can color it in, and I can copy it for each child, so I only need one. But that was a cost-effective way to get kind of the same thing, but in a different format. I know some people also don't buy these all together. They'll use the YouTube songs that go along with those, so you could do that instead. But if you want those books, but you want to kind of cut the price in half, you could go with the coloring book. I know they have also created some posters recently, so you could see the price on those. I'm not sure what they cost. And then the other thing I did, like I mentioned, I only bought one set of readers. I didn't go with the, what were they? The Young Artist series for level B. I just bought just the basic ones. And two reasons for that. One is with the teacher's manual, I got my level B is a first edition, not a third edition. And they didn't add the Young Artist series until the third edition. So, or maybe with the second edition, I'm not sure. But the edition I have, they didn't add it. So the teacher's manual doesn't prompt for it. It's not really included. So I didn't feel like I needed them for that reason. But also I saw online, some people were saying that the Young Artist series of readers was a little bit more advanced. And I feel like these are kind of on the edge pushing it for my daughter. She can do them, but she has to work to do them. And so I didn't feel like more advanced would really help. And I thought one would be sufficient. So I only got one set of the Foundations B readers. So those are some of the ways that I just cut the cost down significantly and made it much more affordable for myself. So the other thing I wanted to mention is when you're buying, there's a few things you should know. If you don't already, the level A and B student workbooks and the manipulatives, the game cards, the handwriting tactile cards, those come in either cursive or manuscript, depending on what you want to teach your child first. So be aware when you're buying secondhand that you're paying attention to that you're buying all the same, whatever you want to do. Don't buy mix and match if they're, some cursive, some manuscript. You want to just make sure you're buying all for all. And you can ask people who are selling them, what set does this belong to? Or you can see if you go online, you can kind of figure it out. But just be aware that there are two different styles for this. The other thing you can think about is, there's some quick references. This is a spelling analysis quick reference, and I got it was 99 cents, and I got it because I thought it would help out with lessons. But they have a few other charts and stuff that would be useful, and I thought about buying them, but I don't absolutely need. So you need to decide, what do I need to make this worthwhile? What is cost versus value? And you decide that for yourself. The other thing to be aware of is, like I've mentioned, there are different editions of the teacher's manuals. All of the student manuals will work with all of the teacher's manuals. The student manuals have not been updated to the point where they can't be used with an older edition teacher's manual as of right now. So don't worry about that. But you should be aware that there are some things that have added, some things that have been changed, and they have a page that discusses the editions and what has been changed in the editions, and I will link that below. But just know that that is there. And for me, I was okay with the older editions for A and B because when I looked at that, nothing was significant enough that I didn't think it would work. And the newer editions are nice. Some of the things they've changed, some of the formatting, the table of contents, the way they've done that. I like it, but not enough to make the price tag worth it for me. For level C, however, I will not buy the older edition because the newer editions have had significant changes enough that I think it's of value to me to make sure I get that newer edition, which I can still get used, but not as cheap used because more people want that. The other thing in level B with the older editions, I think the main change that I wanted to mark is that they added a new sound to one of their phonograms. And let me see, I have it in here because, let's see if I can find it for you. Okay, so here, OU, they added a fifth sound. And so for me, I was like, okay, well, I want to do the fifth sound. That's a value to me, but I don't want to buy a whole new book just because they added a new sound. So in here, I just put a little sticky note. I put the marking for how it's pronounced and the word. And I'll move the sticky note as I go through the lessons just to remind me as I'm teaching this sound that I need to make sure I add the fifth sound in, even though it's not written right in the manual. Very simple way of making that work. There are also correction pages that discuss any errors in any of the texts and what level they were corrected at, what edition they were corrected when. So I would recommend going online and looking at those, making sure that you have just knowledge of any errors. I will link that page as well below. And what I did is just similar to the sound and the sticky note. Any errors that were in my teacher's manual, I just made a little sticky note, wrote what was changed, and stuck it on that page. So that when I come to teaching, it's just right there. Doesn't matter. There are also, and this is just a useful resource to have, there's a page on their site that discusses additional readers from other companies like Bob Books or Playful Pals, I think is the reader sets. and discusses where in the level, when your student hits this lesson, these books are appropriate to go alongside because they've learned all the phonograms that are in there. So that you could buy those readers, or I just get them from the library because they're very common. But to know that there's some additional readers, especially if you don't buy both sets, that you can give your child to practice reading and to enjoy having a book that he can read. And I will also link that below. So that is kind of what I wanted just to discuss. And honestly, with all of the things I've saved, I think I saved between $150 and $200 buying used, making my own, not having to have every piece. And it brought this down between both levels to under $100 for the first 2 levels. And so that is much more affordable to me than the original $300 price tag, or close to $300 price tag that these were going for if I bought everything new just as a set. So hopefully that helps. The other thing I would say is, if you're kind of on the fence, leaning between should I not, I don't really know if I like it enough, then this book might be helpful. It's by the same author as the curriculum, Denise, and it's for adults. It's just written to discuss logic of English. English is logical. It's not as many exceptions or differences. We just think English is just, it doesn't make sense. And she kind of talks through why English makes more sense than we think. And it's the same theory or perspective kind of coming at English that she comes at in her manuals. So I would say, if you want to know a little bit more about her theory and kind of how she approaches English and the logic that she sees in it and why she has done her curriculum the way she has, this book might be helpful. She doesn't actually discuss her curriculum in it. It's just discussing English from her perspective. So this might help you kind of understand if you like it or not. And this is only like $10 online. And I think it's an excellent resource, even if you don't use her curriculum, because I think it's great for, it has some spelling rules in here. It has some stuff that I think would make a good resource either way. So just know that you could look at that if you're unsure. And I think that's everything. I hope that this was helpful for somebody out there, that this kind of helps you feel, okay, I don't have to spend quite as much as I thought I did. But again, if you can't afford it, do support them with your money. If you have any questions, please comment below. If you have, if you liked or enjoyed, or this is helpful, please like it. Feel free to subscribe if you want to know more. Yeah, and I'm glad you joined us today.